How many people in the room don't drink coffee? How is that possible? I'm totally serious. I tried to give it up about 2 weeks ago, and it was like, it was just impossible for me to do my work. Okay, so that was a very flattering introduction. Some of it is true. Let me ask a couple of questions of the audience before I get into my slides here. I want a couple of people, 2 or 3 people who are not doing email, to tell me one thing that they really found fascinating, interesting, valuable from earlier today. There's still a lot more to come. And then maybe one thing that's still confusing to them. So who wants to go first? I'll take 3 people. Just quickly, don't be shy. One thing that you really liked or was valuable, useful, and then one thing that's still confusing to you, or is confusing.
So I would say that the idea that the Google My Business page is your homepage, the idea of putting as much content there as you can. What's confusing to me still though is the AMP and how that competes with your mobile site. And just to me, the idea that is one to have an AMP site that is defeating the purpose of optimizing your mobile site.
Okay. I'm not going to answer any of these questions, by the way. Next person, raise your hand. I may try and answer if I can. Okay.
I think it was the part with Chip. I thought that was outstanding in the pyramid. It was a great takeaway, and I really want to read the book, so I'm super excited about that. I'm still confused on the abandonment, the card for the website.
Okay. Right. You're confused about the meaning of it, or what causes it, or what?
I'm confused about is it the carders of the website.
Okay. Cool. I think we need to go back to the slides to answer that question. I thought it was the card. Website abandonment is easier to explain. Okay, one final person.
Greg.
Where? Where? Oh, on this side here.
Thank you. I loved the keynote in the morning from Google. I loved Chip Conley. One of the things that I'm very, very thankful to understand better is to understand the speed at which the new technology is coming and how quickly some of it is here. One of the things that I'd like to know more about is what is the expected lifespan of that new technology?
Okay, that's very interesting. That's a very important question. I think, when do you invest in new technology? How seriously do you take it? Because everybody wants to tell you about the new thing, and people run around chasing the shiny object, but it may not be the best thing for you, depending on who your customer is. Okay, all right. So that's interesting information. So as I said, everything I'm going to say has already been said. So I will have a 5-minute session here to try and get us back on time. No, seriously. I mean, I sat in my little bubble trying to create these slides and sort of really think through what's important to understand about local marketing, local search. And there's a lot of agreement, a lot of people are talking about the same things, and I produced too many slides. And I exist somewhere in the gray zone between Chip Conley and the folks at Milestone who are very tactical and have very hands-on information. So I'm sort of in the useless middle, not sort of inspired enough and not really very tactical. Okay. All right, there I am. Look how I'm wearing almost the identical outfit, except a little bit different. So would you believe that this is a I think like a 16-year-old picture? Isn't that incredible? Round of applause for me. No, it's true. It's my one headshot. It was taken on my deck, and I have no pants on. I had like shorts or something, but you can't tell. All right, so you know all this stuff about me. LSA is a trade association. Milestone is a member. A lot of these companies are members. We're trying to represent and advocate for the whole location-based ecosystem, whatever that means exactly, because everybody's involved in location. Here's the stuff I'm going to talk about. I won't go over this bulleted list because that will take too much time, but I will talk about each of these things in my slides. So What is local? What does local mean? I mean, you guys are all local marketers, right? I mean, you all represent physical properties. People are coming to your business locations and spending money. Some of them are booking online, some of them are calling. What does local mean? When somebody says local marketing or location-based marketing, what do they mean?
Yeah.
Well, I guess you're pushing traffic and converting revenue based on a location, and you're trying to do that online and offline.
Okay, somebody else? What does it mean? Define it. Define it. What is local marketing? What is location-based marketing? We're going to pick on an email person here. Finishing, is the cookie good? Do you like the cookie? Okay.
What is local?
What is local marketing, location-based marketing? What's
It's
top line?
top of mind, fundamentally getting people who have a high degree of intent in a specific area for a specific purpose.
Okay, one more person. You work at Milestone. What do you think? Just kidding. Okay. Not a Milestone employee. You're not a Milestone employee.
Local marketing, getting people to go to your brick and mortar stores, but they're not necessarily from that particular area.
Okay, so all good answers. All of them slightly different. I have to do this comedy thing because everybody would be asleep otherwise. Okay. So how should we think about it? Is it small business? Is it national, local enterprises, traditional retail, consumer packaged goods that may not have a physical store but sell stuff in stores, toothpaste, whatever, toilet paper, offline services? Service sector is huge, much bigger than retail. Is it all of the above? So this has been a struggle since I've been doing whatever I do for almost 20 years, is defining this. Who does it pertain to? Who does it not pertain to? What are the characteristics of local marketing? People always used to think it was small business exclusively and not brands and enterprises. And the way that I've resolved all this and tried to draw a circle around it is by focusing on the transaction. Now, the transaction could be online in some cases, as with hotels, and an offline fulfillment, but mostly it's about an offline transaction. And these are the numbers that define the economy. 18 trillion GDP, services is the majority of that, retail is about 4+ trillion, and e-commerce is about a tenth of retail. And we can debate the accuracy of all these things. But we're talking about trillions of dollars in offline transactions, money changing hands, being influenced by digital media. And that's the point of what I do. This is too dense. Basically what this says is that people look online for information before buying stuff offline. They read reviews, they do searches, etc., etc. They look on their phones. These are different sources, and they all sort of point in the same direction. Large majorities of people looking for information on the internet, on their phones, before spending money in the real world. Okay, so you heard about omnichannel strategies just a few minutes ago. Everybody's talking about the retail apocalypse. Stores are going out of business. Retailers are dying. This is a chart of retailers that have either closed or declared bankruptcy. There's a lot of them, a lot of familiar brands. They're struggling. But stores are a big, big advantage. These are all the top e-commerce sellers from holiday 2017, right? How many pure-play e-commerce companies are on here? 1, eBay, Wayfair, number 2, Etsy, number 3, Wish, number 4. So 4 out of 20. All these others are brick and mortar stores, and they are the ones that are driving most of the, except for Amazon, so 5. Except Amazon is now an offline retailer as well. So the majority are traditional retailers that are selling more stuff online. And the stores are a contributing factor. People have confidence when they buy from a familiar brand and they know they can take something back to the store. This is Target. Most of their orders still coming from stores, and they're doing a lot of digital fulfillment through stores, buy online, pick up in store. Stores remain important. Stores are important for product discovery. You know all this stuff, right? It's the number one way, according to this particular survey, that people find out about new products. Warby Parker, Bonobos, Untuckit, Amazon. These are all e-commerce companies that have gone offline. Warby Parker, people know that store, eyeglasses, or know that company, right? Do you know Warby Parker? It's a good store. More than half their sales now are coming from their stores. So stores matter, stores are relevant. But retail has to evolve. Has anybody been to Amazon, the Amazon Go stores? in Seattle? I have not. Is that exciting? Was it fun?
Yeah, it was super cool.
Yeah, okay, so obviously technology innovation, disruption, impacting stores, these are things that retailers need to do to improve their in-store experience. Very hard to do. More training, better use of data, better use of technology, get rid of checkout lines, very hard to execute. So lots more retailers will fail, but retail is not going away. Physical stores, omni-channel has an advantage over pure play online. Something you already know. So mobile is one. Mike talked about this a lot. I'm going to go through it really fast. Most traffic now is through mobile devices globally. Time spent with digital media, mostly mobile. Smart speakers are coming up. The desktop is flat. Near me search, we heard about that from Google. The same data points skyrocketing, very high intent. Near me, can I buy, to buy, very high level of intent, people doing these searches on their mobile devices. Am I talking too fast? Want me to go faster? Okay. All right, you heard this very same stat. This is a big stat. Local search on mobile growing much faster than mobile overall. Big deal. And my contention is that this is not new behavior. It's being revealed by these technologies. But this is what people have always done. They have always looked online for information and then gone into a physical place and spent money. Now that's being revealed. We have more visibility on it. This is an interesting ComScore chart. On the left, time spent, desktop versus mobile. This is pertaining to retail. But in terms of conversions, and this goes to the earlier conversion discussion or abandonment discussion, people are converting much less on mobile. Why? It's a bad experience, it's bad checkout flow. You see the field where you have to enter 16 digits, you're not going to do it. So people need to spend much more time on the conversion and checkout flow and just making it easier for people to spend on mobile. But those numbers are going up. Page speed is now a ranking factor. We've heard about this a little bit. It's been a ranking factor on the PC since 2010. It's now a ranking factor for mobile devices. To the AMP question, this is Google's effort to get people to make the mobile web faster. They recognize everything Google does is for self-interest reasons, plus they have other reasons. So if they make the mobile web faster and better, people will continue to use search, and it will reinforce search behavior, which is the way they make money. And so this is an attempt to make things faster, and they've confused a lot of people with it. Store visitation. Okay, so this is online to offline. So once upon a time, the world was divided into online and offline. There were offline transactions, offline events, online events, e-commerce, click, shopping cart, checkout. Now the mobile device has broken down those barriers. Most people on their smartphones use location services for weather, for maps, navigation. How many people have turned off location services because they're paranoid about privacy issues? So one, couple of people. Do you use them periodically? Yeah, so like while using the app, but you're not gonna let, so how many people just let the machine track you in the background wherever you go? So some people do that. Who is conscious of that going on and shuts it down? I will not let people track me in the background. Okay, I'll be talking about that in a minute. So it's a lot of people who've got location services on. What this does, this heat map is designed to convey the idea of location history. So I got up this morning in Oakland, California, where I live, and I spent a long time in traffic driving down here, and I parked in the parking garage, and then I mistakenly went into the convention center, not remembering that the event was in the hotel. And I wandered around the convention center with a bunch of Jehovah's Witnesses until I figured out it was in the hotel. And then I came over here, and now I'm here. And all of this has been captured on my phone. Okay? So Google rolled out per store reporting. Are you aware of that? You can now see people visiting how many people have come to your physical location across your chain to individual locations. And they're doing a lot more to create visibility around individual actions, calls, local ad impressions, get directions, store visits. And that's based on location history, Android. So they count how many people go into the Hyatt Regency, and then they figure there's some number of people who are not signed into Google, and they add those numbers in through a mathematical formula, and then they report. So it's an estimate, but it's a pretty accurate estimate. Did that make sense? People understand what I'm saying? People paying attention? No one cares? Have a cookie? All right. Facebook's doing this also, offline conversion. So everybody is doing some, the big players are doing some version of online to offline, trying to give you visibility on how their ads and their content and their tools are influencing people to come into your business location. It's not as available on Facebook as it is on Google. Small businesses can use it on Google, everybody can use it on Google. Facebook has limited it so far to larger enterprises. Okay, my time's up. Thank you very much. You'd be indifferent if I was done. You'd clap and then I'd sit down and no one would care. What did you say? It didn't seem like you finished his presentation. This is what time I'm actually supposed to stop, but I'll go a little longer. Okay, so there is a company called Ground Truth, which is one of these mobile advertising and mobile location intelligence platforms, and they have rolled out a pay-per-visit model. So you're only going to pay for people who come into your business location, not clicks, not impressions, not engagement. You're going to pay for physical visits. And they went beyond that, and there are others who are doing this now, playing around with this, to a pay-per-sale, a pay-per-SKU, stock ticket unit. So you're only going to pay when somebody buys something. It's sort of a commission affiliate model, sort of, but it's pretty interesting, and it's all based on being able to track who's come in and who's bought something, and you have to tie into the point of sale system or somebody like an IRI or a Kantar to get that sales data. But this is the reality. This is going forward what we're going to see. We may not see business models change, but definitely this data is going to be widely available and semi-mandatory. Okay, so what comes out of this is this thing that's sort of become known as location intelligence. So this is my location history. I stay at a lot of hotels and go to Whole Foods and go to airports. So this is sort of my Google location history showing I live here and I've been to all these places over some period of time. And this defines me as a business traveler. So inferences can be made about who I am based on where I have gone. If I shop at Target, if I go to the gym regularly, if I go to a certain grocery store, you really get a strong sense of who I am and what my tastes are and what I like to buy and whether I'm a fitness enthusiast or whether I'm a business traveler or all of the above. And I can be bucketed into segments. And this can be done for the entire US population now. Anybody who has a smartphone. And it is being done. So in the old days, when you talked about sort of mobile location targeting, you talked about geofencing, which is I want to send my McDonald's coupon for a free McFlurry or a free salmonella salad to everybody within, a mile or 5 miles or whatever. And so people who came into the geofence would see those ads on the mobile web typically. But now what you can do with location history is you can say who has come into McDonald's multiple times within the last 6 months. Who is a lapsed customer? Who's a loyal customer? You can define and segment these people and you can message them differently. And you can do that through Facebook, through custom audiences, you can do it through Google, you can do it in a variety of other ways through programmatic. But you're getting all this data and you have visibility into the real world movements of your customers. So earlier we heard about understanding the customer, understanding who they are. This is information that really can contribute to that. And you can see, how many people remember a company called Hitwise? Do you remember Hitwise? So some people, you're an old person like me? Okay. All right, so Hitwise was one of these metrics companies like ComScore, they got bought. But what they used to show is downstream and upstream traffic. Before your website, somebody was at Amazon.com. After your website, they went to Target.com. You can do this now for the physical world. Somebody went to McDonald's, and before that, they were at JFK, and after your location, they were at such and such a hotel, and you get a sense of how they move through the world. And you can do this for groups, and you can bucket these groups. And it's very useful, if creepy. Every vendor that you talk to will say, well, this is all anonymous, and we take all the individual information out of it. But there's the creepy factor here, but it's really valuable stuff. So now, location has become not about where I am right now, but about who I am and where I fit in the sort of scheme of customer audiences and behavior. So you can identify audiences, you can understand their buying behavior, their preferences, their intent, competitive insights. So if somebody is a health enthusiast and they're going all the time to the gym and you want to market a new cricket protein bar to them, you can find these people and you can say, okay, I'm going to send my ad or a coupon to these people. You can contextualize and personalize experiences. We talked about that at lunch. Personalizing using location, right? Showing people different things based on location. But you can use location to identify them and further personalize things to them. Ads, whatever. You can match ad exposures with offline visits, as I mentioned, and you can benchmark performance. So there's reports about fast food places in a city. So in New York, there are 10 fast food chains. Who's got the share of foot traffic? You talk about share of voice, we talk about share of foot traffic. You can see on Sunday, people go into KFC. On Monday, more people are in Subway and Chick-fil-A. You can do all these comparisons based on foot traffic that you could never do before, based on this mobile data. Here are some things that people are doing with location data, location intelligence today. This is marketer survey, lots of stuff. You'll get all these slides, so I don't have to read these. And you can ask these questions. Where are my customers? Who are my competitors? Where can I find prospects? Is the campaign effective? Did it affect visitation? How can I use location to engage my customers? How can I personalize? And how can I use location for business decision making? Site selection, right? So where is the next location for our chain? Where should we put it? Well, you can do traffic analysis, which people have been doing for a long time in the real estate industry, but you have a lot more visibility. And you can do analysis of time of day, day of week, that kind of thing. All right. Consumer consolidation. So we have this situation where consumers go to a lot of different sources. Travel is notorious. 20 sites, vacation planning, lots and lots of sites, back and forth, reviews, OTAs, the website, and you just have no idea what's influencing them. So depending on the category, 3, 10 plus sources, travel is on the higher end to support consumer decision making. People doing lots and lots of research. This is the MarTech ecosystem, just a mess of logos, 5,000 companies or something like this. It's craziness. Too many apps, 4 million Android apps, 2 million iOS apps, 30,000 Alexa skills. Who has an Alexa or a Google Home device? Okay, so for the Alexa owners, who's got any skills installed at all? Now, do you use them?
Not really, no.
Exactly. It's mostly garbage. And so for brands, and this is a big problem. So you can build an Alexa skill, but nobody can discover it. You have to do other kinds of marketing to get people to understand that it exists. So this is a discovery problem, just like the early App Store. Top apps, it's all Google and Facebook and then a few others. This is where people spend most of their time. 90% of mobile users' time is spent within their top 5 apps. That may not be the same for you and me, but that's just 90% of people's time on a mobile device and half of all digital media time. So we're seeing concentration of consumer time and attention on big platforms. And these are the platforms, basically. This is where all the traffic is coming from, with the exception of TripAdvisor and Kayak in this audience. And there's some verticals that are very influential in particular industries. But this is where everything else is coming from. And so Amazon is sort of not a player in local search right now, but they're trying to figure it out. So they just, they're doing some data deals and other things that are trying to make location data, business data more available. 36% of recent buyers, those people who bought within the last year, have done a local search on an Alexa device. Anybody in the room do that? Look for business information? Hey, when is Home Depot open? Is it, or business hours, that kind of stuff, right? So if you could do more with these devices, you would do more. Does somebody have a GE French door refrigerator, 67 inches, counter depth, blah, 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 blah? You could do that search on one of these devices, you would start doing that search. But you can't do it right now. But product feeds may mean that you can ultimately do it. Virtual assistants, we've heard a lot about that already. It's Google versus Alexa. Who has a HomePod? Anybody have an Apple HomePod? I have one. It's actually a much better speaker than the others. But it's not as good an other device. Okay, so 50 million of these, 45, 50 million of these in US homes. It's a big deal. It's not virtual reality, which is so far not taken off. This is really taking off. How big an influence it will be, the build is not, that's, okay. How big an influence this will be on people's behavior remains to be seen. 70-30 in favor of Amazon. Google is catching up a little bit because they've got certain advantages, their database, their search capabilities. Analyst firm says 100 million of these around the world by the end of the year. So that may be inflated, but it shows you directionally where things are headed. Google has advantages because they've got the Android ecosystem, smartphones. So something important to point out about voice search. There's a speech to text input. I'm holding the phone and I simply speak my query, which may take the form of a question more than if I typed it. And then there's the screen-free device. So those are different experiences, even though on the back end there's the same technology, and that matters. Although they release smart displays today, so you can go out and buy a Lenovo smart display with the Google Assistant on it, so it has this touch screen. Sit in your kitchen, you can do certain kinds of smartphone-like searches for it. So just real quickly, this is what I alluded to. People have been doing local business searches along with other stuff. Traffic, weather, listening to news, music. This is very interesting. Are you doing more voice search on your phone since you're getting one of these? Yes, that's very interesting. So there's a virtuous cycle going on. People behavior being reinforced. Some people are buying these smart speakers to reduce their screen time, which is interesting also. Is that anybody's motivation in the room? Did anybody buy one of these to get off the screen? Break free? No? All right. And where are you spending less time now that you have one of these Alexa or Google Home devices? So there's some cannibalization going on, but it's too early to tell long-term what the patterns will be. This is probably additive more than taking away, ultimately. So schema.org, code to identify certain kinds of content to search engines. Google just released a new one called speakable markup. It's right now for quote-unquote valid news, addressing the fake news problem, but this is interesting. So they're making, they're trying to make content more accessible to these devices. And here's who you want to talk to about voice engine optimization, voice search optimization. So I'm not going to talk about any of that. Anu will tell you all about that. So we heard a little bit about this earlier, machines, and this was your question about automated AI and you don't even know that I'm talking to you. Automated campaigns. Will machine learning and AI take over or be involved in advertising? Google's rebranded all its platforms. They're using Facebook's objective-based approach to simplify things. What do you want to do? I want to drive traffic to the website, get people in the door, drive e-commerce transactions. So you can't read this so easily, but they've introduced fully automated ads that are now available. Responsive search ads, local campaigns, and smart campaigns. These local and smart campaigns are primarily, though not exclusively, for small business. They're fully automated. Google takes the creative assets from multiple places, they assemble the ads, they distribute the ads, they optimize against the ones that are performing. Responsive search ads are a little bit more, there's a little bit more going on, but it's mostly automated. So this is a big deal. This is a profound development in online marketing and local marketing in general. So this is what AdWords Express was supposed to do in 2004, whenever it originally sort of came out. I don't remember precisely. It's going to impact how agencies and in-house marketers work if these tools really succeed and take a lot of the manual, creative, and optimization work out of the process. Makes life simpler for a lot of people. And the big platforms, which have a lot of data, a lot of volume, and a lot of capacity to test and optimize, are going to have even further advantages. So we heard about Google My Business, and I won't go into this at length. Google's been sort of rolling out all these different sort of product enhancements. Google Posts, people know what, when I say Google Posts, people know what that is. Google Q&A, people know what that is. An API for Google My Business for multiple locations, a new agency dashboard, more stuff in the knowledge panel. So people are aware of Google Local Guides. Do you know what that is? How many local guides in the room? Anybody a local guide? You're sort of a local, how do you know, why do you think you're sort of a local guide?
I only used it to promote our businesses, and then I never really go in there and use it, but I know what it is.
Okay, so you're not really a local
Not
guide.
really, that's it.
Now, local guides are a very engaged group of people around the world who are involved in a system that rewards them for certain kinds of actions, adding photos, adding reviews, correcting information, and it's very massive. This is the thing you should know about it that is really impressive and kind of mind-boggling. So in 2016, there were 5 million people around the world that were doing this, helping Google improve, then he tripped and died. Improving accuracy on Google Maps and business information. Now there are 50 million people around the world. So this is where most of Google's reviews are coming from. Q&A, just real quickly. I just did this. This is just a sort of random quick screenshot. Okay, so Home Depot in my area in Emeryville, California. This is my local Home Depot. There's the knowledge panel on the right. This is a desktop shot, obviously. And then at the bottom, which was cut off by the screenshot, here's this. You guys have seen this? Know this place? Answer questions, and then questions and answers. So they're prompting users. How many people have gotten these things on their phone? Are you in this place? Do you know something about this place through Google Maps? Does this place have, yeah, you've seen this, right? And they ask you to answer questions. Does this place have parking? Is it handicap accessible? Et cetera, et cetera. And so you get these kinds of things, and you're supposed to say yes, no, or not sure. And that's contributing to their knowledge base that they're then reflecting back to searchers. Okay? And I've got a lot of those. Now Q&A, which is the piece that you can click on to see what the questions are. This is kind of a weird thing in between a social conversation and a review. Sometimes reviews are showing up here, sometimes not. People are asking legitimate questions, people are putting BS up here, and most of the time, brands are not participating. You probably have this for your hotels. People are asking questions. Hey, is it pet friendly? Is there, how far from the airport, et cetera, et cetera. These are opportunities for brands to bring in sales, to provide better service to prospects, and most brands are not participating. And it's mostly about local guides. So here's from that Home Depot. This is unedited stuff. Home Depot, somebody's looking for a hot pizza bag. What the heck is that? Who's the district manager? I have no idea. Go inside and check. This was just like the first one that I pulled up. I didn't look through 100 of them and find the goofiest one. Hey, do they drug test? And then somebody says, oh, swab them out. So this is probably a prospective employee that wants to know if they're doing drug testing, but you don't know that. And then do they carry custom-made plantation shutters? This is a legitimate question that is probably a sale if the answer is yes. And it says, go to the millworks department, they can special order them for you. That may or may not be accurate. Who knows? But at least it's not telling the guy that, or the person no. And then finally, I'd like to purchase a front door and have it installed. Can they come out and measure? And then another local guide says, oh, they have an associate handyman that can do the measurements, ordering, installation for you. That's true. That happens to be true. But maybe not. And this is another customer who would spend money at Home Depot. And Home Depot is nowhere to be found. Wouldn't you rather have the hotel or the brand answering that question? Yes, you would. Just as an honorable mention here, augmented reality visual search, Google Lens, point your camera at something, get information, conduct a search. This exists on Android phones and iOS in a kludgy way. And then augmented reality turn-by-turn walking directions, which are sort of starting to roll out. So these are things to watch. These will be potentially meaningful in the future, not right now. Reviews, John Carroll from Yelp is going to talk a lot about reviews, so I'm going to just blast through this. Everybody, who's already signed off on the reviews are an important proposition? I don't have to convince anybody that reviews in your industry are important, right? Most people read reviews, most people want to see a certain number of reviews, and they want to see a certain threshold of quality before they'll consider business. So in this particular survey, 3.5 stars was the threshold. Below that, they're not going to consider. This is not hospitality specific. Above that, of course, they would. Across industries, people are reading reviews. These are the trusted review sites. Same survey, Bright Local, Facebook and Yelp are in the #1 position. Google, TripAdvisor, BBB, Yelp pages. It's going to vary by business category, but this is pretty consistent with what you guys see, I'm sure. What do consumers pay attention to? What influences their buying decisions? Star ratings, quantity, the recency of reviews, the level of detail, and then whether the business has responded. Thank you for your review, so-and-so. I'm sorry you had a bad experience, blah, 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 blah. And interestingly, 77% of consumers think that reviews older than 3 months are now no longer relevant. So there's a constant need to keep soliciting reviews. Yelp will tell you don't solicit reviews, but if you ask for them in the right way from everybody else, it's okay. Yelp is a special case, and they have their reasons for not wanting to. They want to keep their content safe from fraud, and so this is why they take this strong position. Reviews matter in rankings. So this is the Google local algorithm. This is Google providing guides. This is what we think about when we rank local businesses or businesses that have locations. Relevance, distance, and prominence, and review count, and quality factor in. More reviews will probably, they say, probably, as if they don't know, probably improve a business's local ranking. But that hasn't been empirically verified. But this is what Google is saying. Okay, social engagement. I'm coming to the end of my slides. Baker Square, just a random restaurant with a Facebook page. They put all their pictures and video and stuff up here. But this is a big problem for a lot of brands. And this is a particular problem. The person who was talking about Google My Business being hijacked by choice hotels, right? Sort of taking over your listings. So this is also mirrored on social media. Who controls the local social media presence? Do you do that, or does Choice Hotels control that? Okay, so that presents a problem. Okay, so this is a Baker Square particular location that has not been claimed by the brand. You see no branding at the top. In contrast to this, right? Here's the branded presentation. Here's a particular location. This is in Omaha, Nebraska. No branding, and some random pictures and some interaction. Facebook users have created this page. If you do not have pages for every single location, they will show up. And they will be created by people who want to talk about your property or want to review it, or just because there's compulsive behavior on Facebook. People want to share and discuss. But when the brand is not part of that conversation or not controlling that message, they don't get they don't have the same presentation. They're not going to control it. Or influence it, and they might not know what's going on. There might be all kinds of just negative or critical discussion. They have no idea what's happening. Maybe there's some particular problem. I mean, you've been seeing all these incidents, these very, very bad, awkward incidents of, people in particular business locations doing bad things to one another that reflects back up to the brand. Somebody's refused service, or somebody is subjected to sort of racial hostility, and that goes up to the brand. I mean, look at what happened at Starbucks. So this is a place not only to promote your business, but also to catch those kinds of incidents, and to be aware of them. So this is another important thing to understand. When you have a corporate presence and you have location pages on Facebook, the location pages have much, much, much more engagement. We were talking about this at lunch. Much more engagement than the corporate side. The corporate side is bland. We have great hotels all over the world, 20,000 locations, with all these amenities. But in the local environment, local context, you can talk about what's going on. What are the particular features of the property? All these events happening. You can do all that stuff and really engage with people, and that's what they really care about. I mean, it's important to have both strategies, but this is a stark indicator of how people really are drawn to local and have an affinity for local information, local authenticity. And Facebook has not realized the promise of local search. They have lots of assets. They have a big disruptive opportunity. They haven't really done it. How many people use Facebook as a Google alternative to look for local places to eat or stay or things to do? Few people. But they have a much bigger opportunity that they have not, for whatever reason, fully realized. Okay, final thing, trust and privacy. Okay, how many people think this is a big deal? Privacy, you talk about not wanting to be tracked, right? So this is a big, big deal. Mark Zuckerberg once said, oh, privacy is kind of dead, people don't care anymore. They lost $120 billion yesterday because they effed up, on multiple fronts. So GDPR, the European privacy regulations that kicked in, have implications for anybody doing business with Europeans or doing business in Europe. California just passed this law, which won't go into effect until 2020, called the Consumer Privacy Act. It's not exactly the same, but it has some of the same consumers control their data provisions. How it's going to play out nationally remains to be seen, but it has national implications. Some to be aware of. Consumer distrust is growing. People don't trust certain kinds of digital marketing platforms and providers. Social media is down at the bottom there. This is very interesting. So 2017, this particular survey, how many people are willing to share, millennials and Generation Z, how many people are willing to share your data for personalized experiences? 98%. 1 year later, that number is reduced by half. People are increasingly sensitive and worried about security and privacy. I just said it. There's some problems that Facebook's been having that are finally catching up. And they're, in fairness to Facebook, they're trying to do so. We can be cynical or not. They're doing some stuff. And this is sort of a readout of who trusts whom. Amazon is trusted, Google less trusted, Microsoft less trusted, Yahoo less trusted. Now, this is very interesting. So Amazon is the most trusted online commerce site. More than traditional retailers or other. Well, so actually, I don't know. I think this is anybody selling online, but I don't know if this was segmented into pure e-commerce or traditional. I assume it includes everybody. But 67% trust to some degree or to a high degree Amazon to protect their data, whereas others no. And this is Amazon's true competitive advantage. I mean, they have great selection, they have a lot of reviews, convenience, good customer service, Prime, 2-day shipping, all that stuff. But this is really one of the foundational pieces of the Amazon brand. People trust it. Okay, final slide. Online and offline are coming together through mobile, location data, very, very valuable. Lots of insights you can get from it. Big platforms now consolidating consumer attention. Very hard to break through that. Everybody's sort of like a lamprey on the sharks, the parasitic fish that swim along with the sharks and suck on the side. Machine learning and AI, major, major development, going to have profound impacts across the board, consumer experience and marketers' advertising.